when you're 350 feet above the ground as you are in the king's chamber, that won't do at all. I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it.
For a long time, Egypt has been like a huge treasure chest, filled with ancient wonders just waiting to be discovered. It's a place where the past and the present mix perfectly. Every tiny bit of sand seems to hint at the chance of finding something extraordinary. But what these explorers uncovered went far beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Scientists discovered an 800,000-year-old queen in Egypt, and it's not what you think. Who was this queen? What secrets does her ancient tomb hold? Join us as we unravel the incredible discovery by scientists in Egypt. Mysteries of Valley of the Kings. On January 25, 2011, Cairo's streets were filled with protesters calling for the end of President Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. While the world was focused on the chaos above, something remarkable was happening far below, in the ancient dusty tunnels of the Valley of the Kings. There, a team of archaeologists from the University of Basel in Switzerland, led by Suzanne Biel, was on the verge of an incredible discovery. They had found the top of a large, round stone at the eastern end of the valley. At first, they thought it was just the lid of an old, unused shaft. But as they continued to investigate, they realized the stone was part of something much more exciting. It turned out to be the entrance to a previously unknown tomb, later named KV-64. This was a major breakthrough because the Valley of the Kings, known for being the burial place of pharaohs and nobles, hadn't seen such a significant find in many years. Before they could continue their exploration, they had to deal with Egypt's strict regulations for archaeological discoveries.
Houses are different from all the workman houses that found in the East or the West Valley.
They carefully covered the stone with a locked iron door, notified the Egyptian authorities, and applied for the permits needed to continue their excavation. A year later, with approval in hand, Bickel returned to the remote site, this time with a strong team of around 20 experts and laborers. Among them were Elena Poag-Gurth, a renowned field director from the University of Basel, and Egyptian inspector Ali Rita. Local workers whose families had lived in the area for generations also joined the team. The atmosphere was charged with excitement as they got ready for the meticulous work ahead. Each team member took turns lying on the ground, pressing their heads against the cool shaft wall and reaching through a small hole next to the capstone to take photographs. The pictures they took were remarkable, clearly showing the unmistakable signs of an ancient tomb.
This tomb is from the 19th dynasty.
This tomb, undisturbed for thousands of years, held the secrets of a lost era. Inside, amidst the rubble, they found a dusty black coffin. This rare find was skillfully carved from plain wood and decorated with large, bright yellow symbols that stood out boldly. The craftsmanship was so impressive that Bickel, who had seen countless Egyptian artifacts in her career, declared she had never come across a coffin in such remarkable condition. The team also unearthed fragments of pottery made from Nile silt and pieces of plaster used by ancient Egyptians to seal tomb entrances. These discoveries, along with the dating of nearby sites, suggested that the tomb was likely over 3,000 years old, dating back to the New Kingdom period, a time when pharaohs like Ramses II and Tutankhamun ruled Egypt. The symbols on the tomb reveal that it belonged to a woman named Nemes Bastet.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
In a burial chamber, a 3,000-year-old coffin.
Experts in ancient Egyptian history, known as Egyptologists, believe she was an important lady linked to the Amun Temple. Nemes Bastet lived during a vibrant time in Egypt's history when the country was a center of cultural and religious activity. This makes her burial site particularly fascinating. For many years, people thought there was nothing new to discover in the Valley of the Kings. This belief began when excavation work first started there. In 1817, Giovanni Belzoni, an antiquarian from Venice, thought he had found the last of the tombs in the valley. About 100 years later, Theodore Davis, another excavator, also believed he had finished exploring the valley, just before the famous tomb of Tutankhamun was discovered. The Valley of the Kings has long been a treasure trove of ancient wonders. During the New Kingdom period, from the 16th to the 11th century BC, It was the burial place for pharaohs and powerful nobles. Each tomb offers a glimpse into the life of the person buried there and the society that created it. The tombs are often adorned with intricate wall paintings and inscriptions that reveal details about their religious beliefs. In the lives of ancient Egyptians, there are still many hidden treasures waiting to be uncovered in places like the Valley of the Kings, the Nile Delta, and across Egypt. Thanks to modern technology, like ground-penetrating radar and 3D mapping, archaeologists have changed the way they search for and study these ancient sites.
They change from there to there.
These new tools have led to the discovery of hidden rooms and artifacts, suggesting that the valley still holds many secrets. One example of this is the recent discovery of Nemes's tomb. This find has renewed interest in ancient mysteries. Although the items found in her tomb are relatively simple, they offer valuable insights into the burial practices and daily life of Egypt's upper class. For instance, pottery, jewelry, and amulets found in the tomb were believed to have symbolic meanings and were thought to protect and provide for the deceased in the afterlife. What's intriguing is that even a wealthy woman from this time was buried with rather modest possessions. Unlike the elaborate pottery, furniture, and food found in older tombs, Nemes's burial included a plain wooden coffin and basic steel tools. While her wooden coffin was quite expensive, it didn't have the complex inner coffins seen in other similar burials. This simplicity has led some to wonder if this might be the tomb of an ancient queen. The discovery of Nemes's coffin has created quite a buzz among Egyptologists. Unlike the ornate, jewel-encrusted sarcophagi of famous pharaohs like Tutankhamun, Nemes's burial suggests a different social status, or possibly an even earlier period. Wooden coffins were typically used by those who couldn't afford stone ones, yet the craftsmanship of Nemes's coffin indicates she was still a significant figure. After making sure the coffin was strong and securing the mummy, Bickle's team carefully transported it across the Nile River to Luxor. There, a thorough investigation is underway to uncover the true identity of this mysterious woman. Advanced imaging methods like CT scans and 3D reconstructions are being used to examine the mummy without causing any damage.
The idea of a mummy curse is to keep those people out of the tombs.
DNA tests might give clues about her background, possibly linking her to famous royal families or revealing unknown connections that could shed light on controversial ancient Egyptian discoveries. Interestingly, even the simplest tombs, including those with wooden coffins, are often among the oldest. Their symbols can be very detailed,
and really sort of captured public imagination at just the right time,
suggesting that earlier periods focused more on the quality of their descriptions rather than on fancy burial goods. This raises the question, could this be the discovery of an original burial site, with simple signs mistakenly claiming a different identity to hide the tomb's true ancient origins? Some scientists believe that Egyptian antiquities might be hiding a sacred truth. They think that the Egyptians might have merely copied the pyramid builders' structures and taken over these monumental sites after they had already been built. Evidence supporting these intriguing ideas continues to emerge, offering new insights into the mysteries of ancient Egypt. In 1922, Howard Carter, an archaeologist funded by the wealthy Lord Carnarvon, made one of the most remarkable discoveries ever. After years of unsuccessful digging in the Valley of the Kings, Carter's determination finally paid off. He found a hidden staircase that led to a sealed door, and beyond it was a tomb that had remained untouched for over 3,000 years. Inside the tomb were 4 rooms brimming with treasures that gave an incredible look into the opulence, sophistication, and culture of ancient Egypt. Carter and his team carefully documented over 5,000 items from the tomb over 8 years. These treasures included chariots, statues, ceremonial fans, jars of food and wine, and personal belongings of the young pharaoh Tutankhamun. The most striking find was the stone sarcophagus, which held 3 coffins nested inside one another. The outermost coffin was made of solid gold. Inside it rested the mummy of the young king, adorned with a magnificent funeral mask made of gold and lapis lazuli.
Apparently all other gold masks had been stolen by tomb robbers.
This mask, weighing about 22.6 pounds of pure gold, is considered one of the most beautiful artistic creations ever made and remains an iconic symbol of ancient Egypt. Assessing the worth of the treasures from King Tut's tomb is nearly impossible because of their immense historical, archaeological, and cultural significance. However, if we only focus on the materials, the gold used in the burial mask alone would be worth about $600,000 today. The true value, though, extends far beyond just the cost of the materials. When these treasures were first evaluated in the late 1970s, they were insured for an estimated $36 million in current terms, which adjusts to nearly $144 million today due to inflation. But the real worth of these artifacts, offering a glimpse into ancient Egypt, cannot truly be measured. The hidden chambers. In 1995, an incredible discovery was made near Giza by a team led by Kent Weeks. They found over 100 hidden underground chambers, which offered new insights into the ancient site. Some researchers who challenge the official story suggest that ancient Egypt's history might be very different from what we've been taught. They believe that the Egyptians did not originally build the pyramids. Instead, these researchers think that the Egyptians copied these impressive structures from a mysterious earlier civilization. Supporters of this theory often point to the noticeable erosion of the pyramids, and especially the Sphinx.
The Sphinx that we know today, the Sphinx from the Great Pyramids of Giza, is the most famous of all sphinxes.
They argue that the heavy rainfall needed to cause such erosion would mean that the Sphinx is much older than what most experts believe. Studies of past rainfall patterns show that the erosion doesn't fit with the time when the pyramids and the Sphinx were thought to have been built. Some theorists even suggest that these structures might be as old as 800,000 years. This idea is controversial because current scientific understanding suggests that Homo sapiens, or modern humans, have only existed for about 300 years. This makes it seem unlikely that humans could have built these monuments so long ago. If these claims were true, it would completely change how we view human history and ancient civilizations. The idea that there might have been an advanced civilization before the known human history is both exciting and puzzling. It makes us rethink the origins of some of the world's most famous structures. What's particularly fascinating is that these sites show signs of having experienced many episodes of flash floods caused by seawater over the ages. This suggests a complex and lengthy history that people are only beginning to understand. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that there are no written records explaining how these monuments were built. Although ancient Egyptian texts provide detailed records of many things, they don't describe how the pyramids or the Sphinx were constructed. This gap in historical records makes us even more curious. Interestingly, despite the significance of these discoveries, much of the information hasn't been widely shared. This raises questions about the implications of these findings. Take, for example, the site of Kulab, which has been studied in depth. Its massive ancient wall surrounding the entrance is particularly notable. Kulab's location on top of a naturally formed hill challenges previous academic assumptions. This site holds many layers of history just waiting to be uncovered, and it could change our understanding of the past. When examining the construction of the wall at Kulab, it becomes clear that it represents an impressive feat of human effort and engineering. What lies beyond this impressive barrier is even more surprising than natural formations alone. It was found out that the area behind the fortress had been deliberately filled with earth to create a flat area, like a platform. This surprising discovery went against what experts had long believed. They hadn't considered that people might have intentionally shaped the land. The plateau wasn't just a random feature. It was carefully planned and constructed. Geologists, scholars, and archaeologists had missed the signs of human design in shaping the land. It became clear that not only had the plateau been carefully made to support the fortress, but its entrances were also cleverly designed. These passageways showed the intelligence of the builders. They made it easier to get to the fortress, but also tricky for invaders. The entrances weren't just simple openings. They were complex pathways. Some were wide enough to trick attackers into feeling safe, but then they narrowed, making it possible for defenders to strike from above and from both sides as the invaders advanced toward the fortress.
So here we have part of the vista and the curious fact that almost all of the 400 buildings in the Quaylap complex.
This clever design made it harder for larger groups to sneak in, turning what seemed like an easy path into a well-thought-out trap. Deep inside a maze-like cave system, which can only be reached after descending a dramatic 8 meters underground, lies a secret burial chamber. This chamber was more than just a resting place. It was carefully built to keep the remains intact for centuries. Its design was specifically intended to protect against tomb raiders who have plundered countless burial sites throughout history. Among the treasures found inside are wooden idols, intricately carved and treated with advanced preservation methods lost over time. These artifacts have survived the wear and tear of time and weather, offering fascinating clues about the advanced skills of the ancient people who created them. What makes this discovery extraordinary are the mummies found in the chamber. Unlike anything seen before, these mummies are exceptionally well preserved, with detailed facial features and intact clothing, suggesting a highly developed culture. Their presence challenges current theories about the people who built this site and could unravel one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Despite the widespread looting of ancient tombs over the years, this burial chamber remained hidden and untouched until now, with the potential to rewrite history. Even though mummies were missing, archaeologist Warren Church remained determined to uncover the secrets of Los Pachucos. For nearly 20 years, he threw himself into his work, driven by the mystery of the site known as Los Pachucos. This site, a wonder of ancient buildings, stood as a stronghold against time. Its construction showed great effort and creativity. The Chachapoyas, or Cloud People as the Incas called them, lived in these ruins scattered across Peru. Despite facing many challenges, they thrived until the Spanish arrived. Their decline sped up with the outbreak of smallpox. What makes the Cloud People interesting is not just their survival, but also their rich cultural expressions. Although they left no written records, they decorated their surroundings with detailed stone carvings of orchids, butterflies, and jaguars, which give clues about their beliefs and environment. Church's findings went beyond the surface. He uncovered evidence of Chachapoya farming skills, including terraces carved into steep slopes for farming, showing their ability to adapt to their environment. A remarkable discovery in the site's burial chamber was the mummies. Contrary to what was expected, these mummies had European features with fair skin and blonde hair. This surprising find raised questions about the origins and interactions of ancient peoples across continents, hinting at possible connections between distant lands. Church described these mummies as some of the most captivating artifacts he had ever seen. The mystery of how they reached the Peruvian hills and became the caretakers of this extraordinary place remains a fascinating puzzle in history. Moreover, similar mummies with European features have been found around the world. Regardless of their origins, the Church's research is truly remarkable, and these discoveries continue to fascinate. How Tutankhamun escaped tomb raiders. Ancient Egyptian monuments faced a lot of problems due to theft all over Egypt. Archaeologist Essam Shehab understands the danger of thieves better than most. Throughout Egypt's history, there are very few examples of tombs that were found intact. Essam has explored many tombs in the area, but the mummies he finds are usually badly damaged, and their treasures have been stolen. The ancient Egyptians believed they would live again in the afterlife. Because of this belief, they tried hard to hide their tombs and bury their treasures securely. They went to great lengths to protect the tombs of their rulers. The tomb of Tutankhamun was no exception. To keep it safe, builders created a false wall to block the burial chamber and sealed the entrance with a plastered doorway. They then filled the corridor in front of the tomb with 40 tons of rubble, creating a solid 25-foot barrier. A third doorway, stamped with the pharaoh's seal, secured the entrance even further. These 3 layers of protection were covered with chippings to blend in with the barren valley landscape. Essam isn't entirely sure if these defenses were the reason Tutankhamun's tomb remained intact. Today, He is investigating other tombs from the time of Tutankhamun to find out more. In the nearby valley where noble families were buried, most tombs had similar protections to King Tut's chamber. However, many of these tombs were repeatedly broken into. When we checked, it was clear that everything had been stolen by thieves, leaving no trace behind. Essam is determined to find out why the security systems failed to protect this particular tomb. He is already familiar with the usual methods thieves use to break in. In the valley, the necropolis police were supposed to keep watch. However, at night it was difficult to see, making the tombs easy targets. Thieves would often bribe the guards for information about where the entrances were. Then they would dig through the rubble and break down the plastered doorways to get inside. Later, tombs were designed with 50-foot deep pits to deter thieves, but robbers adapted by smashing through false walls and using ropes to climb down. They would steal as much treasure as they could carry and then set fire to the tombs. The intense heat would help them remove valuable gold leaf. In the tomb that Essam is currently investigating, things are a bit different. The main entrance was still sealed, yet thieves still managed to steal everything inside. Essam is looking for clues about how the robbers got in. He discovered a cut in the floor, indicating that the thieves had tried to break into the tomb by cutting through the floor before taking the treasure. Even if the tomb raiders couldn't find the entrance, they knew they could just dig into the earth and hope to strike gold. Essam went inside and discovered another clue. It seems this break was made by the first thief who tried to steal the treasures from the tomb. Once the thieves found the tomb, they smashed through the walls, determined to find every piece of hidden treasure inside. This was typical of tomb robbers who would hack into any spot they thought might hide valuables. The grave robbers were so greedy and desperate that nothing could stop them. They often destroyed mummies in their quest for jewelry. We've uncovered many human remains, often in fragments, separated skulls, broken limbs, fractured skulls, and evidence of fire damage. This destruction shows how far the looters went to get to the treasure. The damage might be a result of these thieves violently tearing apart the tomb and everything in it. Despite the ancient Egyptians' efforts to protect their tombs, thieves always found a way in. So how did Tutankhamun avoid such brutal treatment? With similar defenses, how did his sealed doors and hidden entrance manage to keep robbers out? Discoveries now hint that a powerful natural force might have been the ultimate protection. Kent is keen to learn how a flash flood might have influenced the area. We've been studying ancient flood patterns, trying to understand where the water flowed, how much of it might have impacted Tutankhamun's burial site, and how it could have hidden the entrance to his tomb. By mapping the valley, we discovered that Tutankhamun's tomb, KV-62, is situated right in the heart of it. This central location meant that if it rained anywhere in the valley, the water would rush down quickly, bringing with it a lot of debris. This would have covered the entrance to the tomb with a thick layer of rubble, making it nearly impossible to find. When Howard Carter came to excavate, he initially saw only workmen's huts and flood debris and thought there might be nothing of interest. But he continued digging through the debris and the remains of a workers' village. Eventually, his perseverance paid off, and he found the tomb he had been searching for all along. When the young king passed away, his mummy was quickly placed into a tomb that wasn't meant for a pharaoh. This hasty arrangement, combined with a flash flood and a final act of betrayal, turned this minor king from a forgotten figure into a legendary icon. For 3,000 years, his mummy rested peacefully in his golden coffin, surrounded by countless gleaming treasures. Unlike his rivals, he achieved what every pharaoh dreamed of: immortality. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Scientists discovered an 800,000-year-old queen in Egypt, and it's not what you think. In the heart of the Egyptian desert, a team of archaeologists uncovered a hidden tomb beneath a sand-covered pyramid. Inside, they found a beautifully preserved coffin with detailed golden carvings. As they carefully opened it, they revealed the remains of Queen Seraphina, a ruler from 800 years ago. Her beauty was timeless, her face still calm in death. Surrounding her were artifacts that glowed with secrets: a jeweled staff, a decorated mask, and papyrus scrolls describing a forgotten civilization. Among the scrolls was a map marking a mysterious city, lost to history. The queen's final resting place held more than relics. It contained clues to a treasure trove of knowledge about her reign. As the archaeologists pieced together the fragments of her life, they realized Seraphina had been a visionary leader, far ahead of her time, whose legacy had been buried, waiting for the right moment to shine again. The discovery not only changed Egypt's history, but also sparked a quest to uncover the secrets of the Queen's strange city. What do you think the mysterious city will reveal about Queen Seraphina's legacy? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Inside the tomb of Egyptian pharaohs. As the sun rises over the western bank of Thebes, a new week begins for a team of workers in the village of Deir el-Medina. Each morning, these workers say goodbye to their families and embark on a 1-hour walk to their workplace across the mountains, in a place now known as the Valley of the Kings. Today, the Valley of the Kings is famous for the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. His tomb was discovered in 1922, untouched and full of treasures. Despite the gold and artifacts, Tut's tomb is one of the smallest and simplest in the valley. The art of tomb building reached its peak about 40 years after Tut's burial. When Seti I became pharaoh in 1294 BC, he inherited a weak and struggling empire. For the past 60 years, Egypt had been in decline due to the turmoil of Akhenaten's rule. Seti I needed to restore Egypt's traditional power and revive the greatness seen under the rule of Thutmose III. Seti I faced a big challenge in recreating this powerful empire. He was a seasoned soldier with experience as Egypt's top military leader. With the discipline and resolve of a veteran, he aimed to restore order and strengthen the throne's authority. His plan involved two main strategies: military conquests and grand construction projects. One of Seti's notable achievements was commissioning the grand hypostyle hall at Karnak Temple, which remains a lasting symbol of his reign. One of the great marvels of ancient architecture is the hypostyle hall. It's like a gigantic forest made up of 134 enormous columns, some reaching as high as a 7-story building. These columns are so thick that it takes 10 strong men holding hands to completely circle one. The ancient Egyptians aimed to create a grand, open room, but they struggled with designing large interior spaces. To solve this, they filled the room with numerous columns to support the vast ceiling. In a hidden corner of Karnak, there's an unfinished column that shows how Seti's builders made these massive stone pillars. They began by filling the area around the column's base with mud and rubble. Then, they dragged rounded stone slabs up a mud ramp and stacked them layer by layer. Once they reached the top, they removed the dirt and polished the surfaces of the columns and walls. After all the dirt was cleared and the columns were smoothed out, they were left with perfectly crafted pillars. The columns in the hypostyle hall cemented Seti's reputation as a master engineer. The release of the wall paintings helped boost his tough guy image. The pharaoh was set on reclaiming the northeastern lands he lost during the Amarna period. To do this, he launched a series of military campaigns in Syria and Palestine. There, he took control of Phoenician ports and trade routes. The reliefs at Karnak depict Seti capturing and killing prisoners during these campaigns. While his soldiers were striking fear into Egypt's northeastern neighbors, his tomb builders were working on his eternal resting place in the Valley of the Kings. The process was as organized as an assembly line. First, a team of stone masons carved the tomb from solid rock using simple copper chisels. They used oil lamps to light their work, and the amount of oil they used was carefully monitored. If they ran out of oil and wicks, it was clear they had worked the right amount of time. If not, it was a sign they might have been slacking. After the stonemasons finished their work, plasterers followed, covering the rough walls with gypsum and whitewash to make them smooth and ready for decoration. After the walls were prepared, several artists would come in to draw the master craftsman's design. They would use black ink to sketch out the plan, and then the master craftsman would come by to make corrections in red ink. In some places, you can still see these corrections, showing where mistakes were made. The sketches portrayed the pharaoh as the sun god Ra and illustrated his journey through the underworld during the night. Inside the burial chamber at the back of the tomb, This journey was shown ending with the pharaoh rising into the heavens at dawn to begin his journey across the sky. Once the scenes were sketched, sculptors took over. They carefully chiseled around each drawing to create a three-dimensional raised relief. Different workers specialized in different tasks. For example, some focused on carving hands, while others worked on faces. This way, various artisans would work on different parts of the tomb wall at different times. Once the ball was completely shaped and carved, it was painted. As the workers went deeper into the mountain, it became clear that Seti's tomb would be unlike any other. It started with a long corridor that went down 2 staircases and then reached a deep vertical shaft. This shaft was designed to trap both floodwaters and potential thieves. Tomb robbing was a serious threat, and we know from documents found in Deir el-Medina, the village where the tomb builders lived, that thieves were sometimes caught and brought to trial. If robbers managed to get past the shaft, they would face a clever trick, a false burial chamber. This chamber was large enough to be a pharaoh's tomb, but was left empty and incomplete, making it seem like no important burial was there. However, hidden beneath the floor to the left of the false chamber was a secret staircase. This staircase led to another long corridor that opened up into the real burial chamber where Seti I was buried. Seti's tomb was the most amazing one ever discovered, unmatched by any other tomb. Though there are many beautiful tombs in the Valley of the Kings, Seti's tomb is the most richly decorated of all. Seti I, who had restored Egypt to its former glory through his achievements in building and battle, died unexpectedly in 1279 BC. An examination of his mummy suggests he was probably under 40 years old. After his death, his son Ramses II took over. Ramses II fathered over 100 children, survived one of Egypt's most legendary battles, and covered the empire with massive monuments to himself. His 67-year reign marked the height of ancient Egypt's power, but also set the stage for its eventual decline. What are your thoughts on the shocking discovery by scientists in Egypt? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section.